Hashtag Mindmogul. 7 minutes of motivation for the mind, body, and soul. Welcome to the show. Today's topic, racism. Sunday, July 26, 2020. It is 2020, the year from hell. First with coronavirus. Second with a blatant disrespect of racism with the murder of George Floyd, looking at how Derek Chauvin put his knee in George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That's deeply rooted evil. There was hate for the man. And now we find out that they even knew each other personally, worked at the same nightclub as security. What drives someone to hate someone else so bad only because of the pigmentation or the melanin in our skin? That's the conversation I want to have. Let's talk about why racism exists. But to talk about why it exists, we have to talk about it in our experiences, things that have happened to us, to show through visual audio stories what happened. So with that being said, I can remember an event of racism that I personally dealt with. Living in Atlanta, Georgia at the time. I was in Gwinnett County. I remember going to Barnacles, and we were at the Barnacles, and I was there with a couple co-workers, two females, two young ladies who worked with me, and we were just shooting pool and hanging out. I think at that time I was in my 20s, and there was a last call that came from the management there. It was a brother, and when I say brother, I mean black man, that said, okay, last call for alcohol, and we'll be shutting down here soon enough. And so I took it as just what he said. The next thing I know, the guy comes back and he goes, hey, that's it. We're closing up. You guys need to wrap it up. And the young ladies at this point were inebriated and they were having fun. And so one of them made a comment to him like, what's his problem? Why is he, rushing us to leave? And so at that point, he looked at me and he goes, okay, you don't want to leave? You stay here then. I looked at the young ladies and my intuition served me correctly. I said, okay, guys, look, let's just make our way toward the door. Mind you, there are other people still shooting pool at the same time. As we make our way toward the door, now the gentleman yells out, no, now you can't leave. And so at the whole time, I never made one comment. I just kind of observed and moved. I never made a comment. He says, now you can't leave. And in fact, when I tried to leave, there was a white male standing behind the door, holding the door. There was another white male in front of the door. And I guess their thought was that you can't leave. So I pushed the door open, and in doing so, the white male standing behind the door was hit by the door. And then he immediately slammed the door. And I was not able to leave. I was essentially being kidnapped. The police arrived, Gwinnett County. And when the police arrived, it was two Caucasian officers. When they came in the door, no one said anything. The guy who called the cop pointed at me. The cop came over to me. He never said anything to me except turn around and put your hands behind your back. He put me in handcuffs and he put me in the back seat of his car. I sat there in the back seat of the car fearless because in my mind I said, I've done nothing wrong. Let's just see how this all plays out. The young ladies who were with me at the time, who both worked in management, as we were all managers at the local distribution center right around the corner from that same establishment, they began to go to war for me, essentially, and trying to understand and negotiating with the officers and asking them, what did I do? Was any illegal activity? What is it? And so it became a battle between what they were saying and what management was saying. And then finally the lieutenant showed up, and he was a brother. The lieutenant, before going in the building, he looked at me. He opened the back seat of the car. He said, step out, Mr. Holmes. I stepped out. He took the handcuffs off of me, and he apologized. He said, Mr. Holmes, I want to apologize. He said, what my officers did was they aided and abetting in the kidnapping that Barnacles just did on you. And he says, if you want to press charges, that's on you. He says, but at this point, you are free to go. For the first time I spoke, I looked at him and I thanked him. I thanked him for being righteous. #Mindmogul. Scripture for today comes from Mark 3:27. No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he will first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house. People of God, you are that strong man. And as the word says, no one can bind or plunder a strong man unless they bind him. My message to you today is break the bounds, break the binds, break the binds of your mind, break the binds of your body, break the binds of your future, break the binds of your destiny, never to be bound or binded again. #Mindmogul.
Third down at 21 now. Arizona's back and loads. It's got a man open and hit. Nice throw. And a first down to Ron Holmes. The 26-yard line. Iowa dropped into the zone. Thought they had everybody in front of them that time. But Tom Knight was the corner to that side. Kerry Cooks the safety. That and put the ball exactly where you have to throw the ball to the outside of that split. Too deep zone. Just high enough so that corner can't get it, and not too high so the safety can't. You gotta love it when it's 3rd and 21 and you get 23 yards. Well, you love it if you're a Wildcat, but if you're a defensive coordinator, that is going to be driving you crazy.
This podcast is brought to you by eidlemusic.com, offering distribution of audio and video globally. Got talent? Sign yourself at eidlemusic.com. Also brought to you in part by birthdaycapital.com. Crowdfunding for your birthdays. Be benevolent. Think abundance with birthdaycapital.com.
Right there. Heck of it in. Somebody's in, somebody out. It was looking too quick for me this year.
I know, girl, motivation for your mind, body, and soul. I know, girl, run homes, motivate your mind, body, and soul. I know, girl, motivation for your mind, body, and soul. I